What's up, fishes and fishettes? This is Eric over at Fish Poker, bringing you one more video of this fish playing some shitty poker. Now, I was at the Peterson Automotive Museum over on Fairfax and Wilshire in Southern California, which, man, it was freaking awesome. They had a whole bunch of really awesome cars, and amongst all those awesome cars, the one that stuck out to me the most was a Delorian, a full-scale model Delorian of the Back to the Future movie, which was freaking amazing. It just woke up that inner nerd in me. Man, they also had the police car in part 2. This one right here, I'm sure you guys recognize it if you guys have seen the movies. Really freaking awesome. I'm really a nerd for this, and because I am such a nerd, I went out and I filmed a few of the movie locations that this movie was filmed in, which was right here in Southern California. So stick around to the end of this video. I'll show you around town, see where this movie was filmed. One more thing before we get into our shitty poker hands, I got a really great announcement. You guys ready for this? We just surpassed the 100 subscriber mark. Yes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, thank you. Please sit down. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I want to thank sweet baby Jesus. No, but seriously, guys, I'm really happy. I got over 100 subscribers, which is a really big milestone for me, a big old deal for me. I'm really happy. I only have about 12 consecutive people I play poker with, so I passed the 12 subscriber mark. I'm really excited, and to show my appreciation, I have made some shirts. Before we go ahead and get started on how I'm going to give away these shirts, I want to go ahead and thank Prime Printing for hooking it up with these shirts. I'll go ahead and leave their information on the description below. So if you guys need any kind of shirt printing, whatever you guys need in that aspect, Prime Print. Now, the way you guys are going to be able to win one of these shirts is just comment below, letting me know what city, what state you're watching this channel from, and I'll make a raffle, or I'll figure out how I'm going to just go ahead and kind of pick names out of a hat type of thing. I have a few shirts. I'm going to give them all away. Thank you guys for your support. And, well, without further ado, let's get into our shitty poker hands. So we have a $50 minimum buy-in at our games. 50 cents small blind, $1 big blind, and right off the bat, I get dealt pocket fives in the small blind. Everybody goes on and folds to our opponent in lay position, who bumps it up to 250, and our opponent in the button calls. And when it goes back around to me, I go ahead and I isolate. I go all in. I'm all in for 50 bucks, 50 big blinds, and let's just hope for the best. No, I'm just kidding, guys. I didn't go all in. Come on. I just flatted. Our opponent on the big blind flatted, and we go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is king, deuce, deuce, and myself, as well as the big blind, go ahead and check it to the original aggressor, who fires off a continuation bet of 3 bucks. Our opponent on the button folds, and it comes back around to me, and I make the call. Our opponent on the big blind folds, and before you guys start twitching your fish faces all around, thinking and telling me that this was a bad call, it really isn't. I went ahead and I paid attention to the game. This is another thing that Daniel really emphasizes on his course, paying attention, and not just paying attention to whose turn is it or how much money they're missing to put in or whatnot, but paying attention to players' tendencies and paying attention to what they open with. And I've seen this player, and I've paid attention to this player open up a wide range of hands from this position. I've seen her open suited gappers, suited 2 gappers, suited connectors. So when a 6 comes on the turn, I go ahead and check it again. I check it, and she goes on and she fires off another bet of 6 bucks. And even though the 6 could potentially be in her range, I'm not buying it. She's told a story so far that she's strong pre-flop, she's strong on the flop, and now she's strong on the turn. So based on that story, that 6 could not have helped her hand, and I'm just not buying it. I go ahead and make the call, and we're heads up to a river. The river brings in another king. I go ahead and I check it one last time, but our opponent goes on and fires the last bullet in her barrel. She fires 10 bucks into a pot of $40. Now, is this a value bet or is this a bluff? I'm not sure at this point. I go ahead and I run the hand through my head again. And, well, I go on and I go with my gut instinct. I go on and I make the call. I'm getting a good price, and I just pray to sweet baby Jesus that she doesn't have a better pocket pair than I do. And well, we flip over, and my pocket fives were good. My gut instinct was right. Our pocket fives were good, but you know what? Kudos to my friend. It's not easy firing a three-barrel bluff. Three-barrel bluff into your opponent, but hopefully it works next time. Nah. Hopefully it never works again. For this next hand, I look down at ace-9 of clubs in the cutoff. It's been folded all the way down to the low jack, who limps in, and once it gets back around to me, I go ahead and bump it up to $3. Our opponent on the button goes ahead and calls. Our small and big blind both fold, but once it gets back to the low jack, he goes on and he puts on the remainder $2, and we are 3 ways to a flop. The flop is ace king deuce with 2 spades on board, and our opponent in the low jack goes ahead and checks. It comes back around to me, and I fire a continuation bet of $7, which our opponent on the button gladly calls. Our opponent in the low jack goes ahead and calls as well, and we are still 3 ways to a turn. The turn is a 7, and back where I come from, this is known as a brick. Our opponent in the low jack goes ahead and checks, and it comes back around to me, and I go ahead and I make the first mistake of my life. I go ahead and I check back. Now, this is a really bad spot for me to check. I shouldn't have checked here under any circumstances. Not only am I losing value, but I'm giving away free cards to a lot of draws on the flop. There's a spade that could potentially put me in a lot of pressure if it comes on the river and somebody jams. A 10 is also not good. A jack is not good. A queen is not good. And, well, it was just a really bad spot for me to check. I shouldn't have checked, but I was trying to induce a bluff that didn't work because our opponent in the button goes on and checks as well. And we go on 3 ways to see a free river. The river's a 5. Our opponent in the low jack checks, and when it comes to me, I'm not going to check it this time. I've already lost value on one street, and I'm not about to lose value on another one. I can't risk our opponent checking back, so I go ahead and fire $10. $10 into a pot of about $30, and our opponent on the button is getting 4-1, so he goes on and he makes the call. He calls, and our opponent on the low jack folds, and our ace is good. We win a pot of over $50. So we continue our game, and I get dealt ace-8 suited on the big blind. Our opponent under the gun has fired off $250, which everybody on the table has folded to. Everybody, including the small blind, and now that it's action on me, it's only $1.50 more. There's no way I'm gonna go ahead and fold for $1.50 more. This is basically a min raise. In this position, I'm gonna defend with any 2 cards. If our opponent really wanted us out, he should have bet more. But he didn't. He made it $1.50 more to me, and well, of course I call, and we are heads up to a flop. The flop is ace-7. And I believe in miracles. Hell freaking yeah, we flop trips and we donk bet out $3. Now I know what you fish faces are thinking.
Why didn't you check and let the original raiser do the aggression?
And I'll tell you why. It's because I know my opponent. I know that if I bet here, my opponent's not going to believe me. He's going to think I'm trying to take the pot, and I'm going to get him right where I want him. And that's exactly what happens. He calls my $3, and we're heads up to a turn. The turn is a jack. I go ahead and continue my aggression and fire off $6. Our opponent thinks about it for a few seconds before he makes the call, and we're heads up to a river. The river's a 10. And with this 10, I'm thinking about a bet size that's going to get me paid off. I don't want him to fold. I know he doesn't have a full house. It's not in his range. I didn't get re-raised at any point in this hand. So there's no reason to believe he has a full house. And if he does have a full house, then kudos to him. I thought I was trapping him and he was trapping me. But I'm pretty confident he doesn't have a full house. I go ahead and bet $8, and our opponent goes on and he snap calls. He snap calls, and what does he turn over? He turns over king, queen. King, queen, guys. How the hell does that happen? I mean, I was right. He didn't have a full house. I mean, I congratulated him, but on the inside, I'm like, Now, why do bad players keep getting rewarded? I mean, does their good luck get triggered when they play bad? I mean, I got a fish to call me with king high, and the same fish called me with a gutter on the turn. Only for the poker gods to bless him and reward him for his stupid play by giving him a runner straight. I mean, what the hell? I mean, I know these are the kind of fishes we want. We want these kind of calls. We want these kind of players on the table. You know, these are players who rely entirely on luck. You know, we start thinking about how we could have played this hand different. And of course, if I would have raised it to like $6, $7, $8 on the flop with that ace, maybe I would have got him to fold. But then at the same time, I wouldn't have gotten any value. I want value off my trip aces. I did everything with a plan, and everything was working up until the gods decided to just throw a dump on me. Ugh. Anyways, nice hand, sir. Nice freaking hand. For this next hand, I'm on the cutoff with 6-5 suited. Now, I'm a little bit edgy and a little bit ticked off over the poker gods that like to reward bad plays, so I bump it up to 250. Everybody folds except for the small blind who makes the call, and the big blind who of course makes the call because it's only $1.50 more to her. And well, I'm not gonna get her off any hand, just like I wouldn't get off any hand if anybody would fit 150. And we are 3 ways to a flop. The flop is deuce 10 jack with 2 hearts. Our opponent in the small blind checks, big blind checks, and it goes back around to me, and I go ahead and bet $10 on my flush draw. $10 into 750, which is a stupid bet, but this is the kind of stuff the poker gods love. They love to reward these kind of bad plays, so I'm fairly confident I'm gonna get it. Our opponent in the small blind, though, who goes ahead and calls, and our opponent on the big blind decides to get froggy and shoves all in. She puts all in for $56, and that puts me in a tough spot. I have to put in $46 to win a pot of 83. Not only am I not getting a good price to call, but there's still one more player left to act. And so happens to be this player called my $10 bet and is looking at me like it's lunchtime. Anyways, I know the poker gods love to reward these kind of plays. I know the poker gods will hook me up if I make the call. And well, based on that strategic mentality, I go ahead and I call. I call the $46, and our opponent in the small blind folds, and our opponent in the big blind turns over Jack 9 of hearts. We are completely dominated. Our opponent is nice enough to run it 1,000,000 times, and I go ahead and lose all 1,000,000 times. I go ahead and get taken away for about 50% of my stack. And holy crap, man, this feels horrible. What a horrible play by me. The poker gods seem to only hate me. They only hate me. They love everybody else except me. What the hell? How does that work? How does that work? For this next stupid hand, I go ahead and get dealt king, queen offsuit on the button. Now, I've put a $2 straddle on the button, which means that the small blind gets to act first. The small blind, then big blind, and so on and so forth. And then it goes to me at the end. But anyways, the small blind goes on and folds. The big blind goes on and puts the remainder $1. There's another opponent down in middle position who makes the call. Another opponent in the cutoff, though, goes on and bumps it up to $5. $5, that's 3 more bucks to me, which is not a big deal. But if I call these $3, I'm 100% sure that our opponent on the big blind is going to go ahead and call. And our opponent in middle position is going to go ahead and call. And well, there's already about $10 in the pot. And well, I don't have that much of a shitty hand, right? So, and I'm in position. So I go ahead and re-raise the $5 to $12. $12 gets the job done. Our opponent in the small blind, the opponent in the big blind goes on and folds. Our opponent in middle position folds. But our opponent that originally raised the $5 goes on and puts the remainder 7. And we are heads up to see a flop. The flop is 8-3-9 rainbow. Our opponent goes on and checks to us, and we go ahead and take a stab at it. There's just under $30 in the pot, and we put out there $12. $12, which our opponent goes on and takes a few extra seconds before she makes the call, and we are heads up to see a turn. The turn is an ace. Our opponent goes on and checks to us, and we fire another bullet. We bet $12, which our opponent goes on and thinks for a second, and she goes all in. She goes on and she check raises me all in. Now, I don't know if my opponent has an ace or she just knows I'm full of shit, but I have to fold. I can't call this, even though I think it was a bad fold, because mathematically it was a bad fold because I only had about $20 left behind. And well, I let it go, and along with that, I had to go back into my pockets. I go ahead and put in another 40 bucks out there, and we're now in the hole. We are in the hole now, so yeah. For this last hand of the night, I go ahead and get dealt pocket kings on the button. Now, I really wish I would have straddled, but straddling hasn't been working out for me this whole damn night. So that's the reason why I don't straddle. Anyways, the whole table decides to fold, and it comes back around to me, and I bump it up to 350. Our opponent on the small blind decides to fold, but then our opponent on the big blind, he decides to shove. And the reason why he decides to shove is because he just lost a big old pot to hand before. He lost it when he flopped a set, and his opponent got there with runner straight. The same opponent that got me with the runner straight got him with the runner straight, and he's very much on tilt. He looks down at pocket fours, and he has about 40 bucks behind, and he decides to shove all in. Of course, I go ahead and I call, and we go heads up to see an entire board. The flop is brick, followed by another brick, and miraculously on the river, there's another brick. He bricks out on the entire board, and I go ahead and I am out of the hole. No more negative numbers for me, and it's not a lot, but still, I'm out of the hole, and I'm really happy. Hell freaking yeah. Well, that's all the time I have for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I didn't win a lot of money. I think I was only up like $15, if that, which is not even bad because I was already 100 bucks in the hole. So climbing out of that $100 hole was a win in itself. So I'm happy I climbed out of it. I'm not too happy I didn't win that much money, but in the end, I had some fun hanging out with friends and everything. So yeah, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. So this tunnel scene in Back to the Future Part 2, where Marty's fighting Biff over the sports almanac. The sports almanac that old Biff gave young Biff, and while they're in this tunnel, they're in a big old fight before the doc throws down this like rope. Marty grabs onto the rope, and then they take off into the sky. Anyways, this is a tunnel right here. It's at the Griffith Park Observatory. If you've ever been to the Griffith Park Observatory, as you're exiting the park, you just go through this tunnel. This is one of the tunnels that you need to go through to exit the park. And, well, this is a tunnel that was filmed in. At the beginning of the movie, Marty realizes he's late for school, and he goes on and he skates down a Burger King parking lot when he grabs onto the back of a blue pickup truck, and he just skates away. Now, Doc's garage filled with clocks is no longer there, but the Burger King is still there, and it's located in Burbank on Victory Street. Now, if you guys remember this scene right here where Marty's meeting the Doc in the middle of the night, he's going on to meet him at the mall. The mall's called the Twin Pines Mall. Nowadays, it's called the Puente Hills Mall over off the 60 freeway on Azusa. This is where all the magic happened. And a little bit of an Easter egg for you guys. If you guys remember this scene right here where Marty escapes the barn, he drives out of the barn, they're shooting at him. And in the process of him escaping, he runs over one of the pine trees. Boom, right there. Well, that right there changed history because of that now it's no longer called the Twin Pines Mall. Now it's called the Lone Pine Mall. So that's a really cool Easter egg. If you didn't know that, you know it now, which I think that was really freaking cool. This last one's my favorite. It's Marty McFly's house. You can see that big old tower in the back that just gives it away. And this one's located in the valley off the 5 freeway on Osborne. This is the house right here, and this is a street where the Doc backs up and he flies off into the future.